PlayStation might be about to cross a line that gamers absolutely hate. And no, this isn't another price increase. It's potentially something even worse. A newly discovered Sony patent suggests the company is exploring an AI-powered system that could completely change what happens during loading screens and matchmaking queues. At first glance, it actually sounds pretty cool. The patent describes an AI system that predicts how long you'll be waiting before a game starts. Then, instead of staring at a boring loading screen, it can show extra content while you wait. For example, if you're loading into a Call of Duty match, the system could show player statistics, KD ratios, loadouts, win rates, and other useful information about the lobby. Honestly, that sounds like a great feature. Nobody likes waiting around doing nothing. But here's where things get interesting. While the patent never directly mentions advertisements, many gamers immediately started worrying about one thing: ads. Because if Sony can fill your loading screen with statistics, what stops them from filling it with advertisements? Think about it. Loading screens are basically free attention. You're already sitting there waiting. You can't really do anything else. And for advertisers, that's incredibly valuable. Imagine loading into your favorite multiplayer game and suddenly seeing a pizza commercial, a movie trailer, or a PlayStation Plus promotion before the match starts. That's the nightmare scenario many players are imagining right now. Now, before everyone grabs their pitchforks, let's make something very clear. Sony has not announced advertisements. Sony has not confirmed advertisements, and Sony has not said this patent will even become a real feature. Right now, it's just a patent. And that's important because Sony files thousands of patents. Most of them never become actual products. A patent is basically a company saying, here's an idea we might want to protect. It doesn't mean they're definitely building it. But this particular patent feels different because it actually makes sense. The technology exists, the AI exists, the use case exists, and most importantly, the money exists. That's why people are paying attention. Let's be honest, gaming has become significantly more expensive over the last few years. Games cost more, consoles cost more, subscriptions cost more, accessories cost more, and many gamers already feel like they're paying enough. So when they hear about the possibility of ads entering games, the reaction is pretty obvious. Wait a second, I bought the console, I bought the game, I pay for online. Why am I seeing ads too? And honestly, that's a fair question. Traditionally, advertisements existed in free products, free websites, free TV, free apps. The idea was simple. If you're not paying money, you pay with attention. But gaming doesn't really fit that model. Most players have already spent hundreds or even thousands of dollars inside an ecosystem like PlayStation. That's why the thought of seeing ads during gameplay-related experiences feels wrong to many people. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. The actual technology behind the patent isn't the problem. In fact, it could be genuinely useful. Imagine waiting 3 minutes for a ranked match. Instead of staring at a spinning icon, you get useful information. Maybe map tips, maybe strategy guides, maybe stats about your opponents, maybe updates about recent balance changes. That's valuable. Most gamers would probably support something like that. The issue isn't the technology, the issue is trust. Because trust has become one of the biggest problems in modern gaming. Players have spent years watching monetization become more aggressive. Microtransactions, battle passes, premium currencies, deluxe editions, subscription tiers, loot boxes. The list just keeps growing. So whenever a company introduces a new system, gamers immediately ask the same question: what's the catch? And that's exactly what's happening here. What's the catch? Will this content be optional? Can players disable it? Will it only show useful information? Will it eventually include ads? Nobody knows, because Sony hasn't answered those questions. And to be fair, they don't really need to yet. Again, this is only a patent, but the uncertainty is exactly why the conversation exploded online. Now let's zoom out for a second. This isn't really just about Sony. This is about the future of gaming. AI is becoming part of everything. Matchmaking NPCs, voice systems, recommendations, content generation. Every major gaming company is investing heavily in AI right now. So seeing Sony explore AI-powered loading screen systems isn't actually surprising. The surprising part is where it could eventually lead. Because once a company creates a system capable of showing personalized content during wait times, the possibilities become endless. Some of those possibilities are useful, some are exciting, and some are potentially very controversial. That's why this patent generated so much discussion. Not because of what it is today, but because of what it could become tomorrow. Now let's talk about the most likely outcomes. Option 1. Nothing happens. The patent disappears. Sony never uses it. And everyone forgets about it within a year. Honestly, that's entirely possible. Option 2. Sony implements the feature exactly as described. No ads, no monetization. Just useful player information and game-related content. If that happens, many gamers might actually end up loving it. And then there's option 3, the one people are worried about: advertisements. Whether that's game trailers, PlayStation promotions, sponsored content, or something else entirely. If Sony ever goes down that road, the backlash would probably be massive, because players are already sensitive to monetization, and introducing ads into gaming experiences would be incredibly controversial. The good news? We're nowhere near that point, at least not yet. Right now, all we know is that Sony filed a patent. That's it. No announcements, no implementation, no confirmation, just an idea. But patents are interesting because they give us a glimpse into what companies are thinking about. And this patent reveals something important. Sony is actively exploring ways to make waiting time inside games more interactive. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends entirely on how they choose to use it. If it stays focused on useful information, it could genuinely improve the player experience. If it turns into an advertising platform, that's a completely different story. And that's why gamers are paying such close attention. Because in modern gaming, the feature itself isn't always what matters most. It's what the feature eventually becomes. For now though, nothing has changed. Your PlayStation works exactly the same. Your loading screens work exactly the same. And Sony hasn't announced any plans to put ads inside your games. But if they ever do decide to turn this patent into a real feature, trust me, the gaming community is going to have a lot to say about it. So what do you think? Would you be okay with useful stats and game information during loading screens? Or do you think Sony is opening the door to something much bigger? Subscribe for daily gaming news.